Today we are going to continue our study in social studies of Chapter 7, Hebrews and Judaism, and we are going to do the second part of Lesson 1, so 7.1b. We're continuing our study of the early Hebrews. Big idea is still originally desert nomads. The Hebrews establish a great kingdom called Israel. And the main idea is strong kings united the Israelites to fight off invaders, and invaders conquered and ruled the Hebrews after their kingdom broke apart. So again, we're picking up where we left off. So since the last time, you've watched several videos, which I hope helped fill in blanks for you for both Abraham and Moses. And that gets us where we are today. So the new threat to the Israelites came from the Philistines. And this is a group of people. If you've read the biblical story, you know who the Philistines are. The Israelites are kind of all spread apart right now. And they decided that they needed one united ruler. And this ruler is going to be Saul. So Saul is going to become the first king of Israel. So basically they wanted that single ruler that could lead them in battle, mainly against the Philistines. After Saul was king, David became king. You know who David is. Think back, David and Goliath. Okay, this is the same David. He won many wars for Israel. Then after David, we have Solomon. And Solomon is the one that expanded the kingdom and trade. He did this by making allies, which is friends, with nearby kingdoms, which included Egypt and Phoenicia. Remember, we talked about these earlier in the year. By trading with Egypt and Phoenicia, this made Israel very rich. So it started with Saul needing to unite to go against the Philistines, who had become a threat. So King Saul, the first king. After Saul was David. After David, we have Solomon. And then finally, Solomon is the one who helped make Israel rich, and basically through trade. And you'll see that all throughout the different civilizations we talk about. When they start trading, they become rich. So with the riches that came from this, King Solomon built a temple to God in Jerusalem. So he built the first temple. Well, after Solomon died, the Hebrews started bickering amongst themselves over who should be king. So revolts broke out, meaning the people rose up, and we just have chaos. So this split Israel into two kingdoms. So now we have Israel and we have Judah. The people of Judah are going to become known as the Jews. Okay? So they're all God's chosen people, because remember, it was promised to Abraham in the covenant with God that as long as they worshiped the one and true God, then Abraham would be blessed. And so these kingdoms all come from Abraham. But at this point, we're split off into two, Israel and Judah. So that Israel would be the Israelites. They were still the Hebrews. And Judah, we've got the Jews. They're still Hebrews. They're just called Jews because it's Judah. Well, eventually, both Israel and Judah were conquered, and Judah fell to a group of people called the Chaldeans. You're going to come back and watch this video. It kind of sums everything up about Israel. And this map shows the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, and the route, or not the route, but King Solomon's kingdom around 930 BC. So Israel is all of this in this gold color, and Judah in the purple color. So before they split off, it was all one land. So you can see King Solomon expanded the empire quite a bit. All right. Well, in Egypt, we know that the Hebrews were slaves. Now, the Jews are going to go through a period of enslavement called Babylonian captivity. Now, we talked about Babylon before as well. Remember, it was the not so very nice place. All right, so the Jews, who from the two that split off would be the ones in Judah. They're the ones that are going to be conquered by Babylon. The Persians took over. They allowed, finally, the Jews to return to Jerusalem. So the Persians conquered the Babylonians and freed the Jews, told them that they could go back to Jerusalem. Some of the Jews did go back to Jerusalem. However, some of them did not. They settled in other parts of the Persian Empire. This is called the scattering of the Jews, the diaspora. So scholars call the scattering of the Jews outside of the Promised Land, Canaan, the diaspora. You need to know that word, scattering of the Jews. Well, eventually the Jews are going to be conquered by the Romans, but they made many advances in teaching and also in building temples before they were conquered by Rome. Johann ben Zakkai was a teacher during this time. He clarified some of the Jewish teachings to help people better understand the religion. And he also built a school to teach about Judaism. So despite these advances, though, the Jews were not happy, and they called on the people to rebel again. All right. So this is the end, totally, of Lesson 1. The second part, B. Following this, there are 4 videos that you're going to watch in the days to come. And as always, I have them in order as to how you should watch them. So please make sure you're watching the correct video each day. So as you scroll through, you can see the 4 different videos. So just make sure you're watching the correct one. And our next lesson will be Jewish beliefs and text.